Good morning. I'm Henry Munoz, and I'm the chairman of the Board of Trustees of Via Metropolitan Transit. And let me say welcome this morning to each and every one of you on this bright, shiny new morning for Via Metropolitan Transit. I want to say on behalf of my colleagues on the Board of Trustees, what an honor it is to have each and every one of you here. Over the course of the 4 months that I've been chairman of this Board of Trustees, joined by some new members and some that have been around for a little bit longer than us, it has become so clear that the foundation of one of the most respected bus service companies in the country is you. And so I want you all to give yourselves a round of applause. For the 30 plus years of loyalty and public service, many of you from generation to generation, husbands and wives and children who have given your lives to our community, we appreciate you, and I wanted you to know that. This is a moment in our organization, an incredibly important moment in the history of our community. There comes a time in the life of a city where you realize that transportation is more than just moving people from point A to point B. It is an opportunity to reinvest, to redevelop, to revitalize, and to look to the future of your community. That moment was arrived at VIA about a year ago, and the Board of Trustees put into place a presidential search committee that has been working incredibly hard on your behalf to make sure that we have the right leader to carry us into the future. I want to recognize each of the members of the Board of Trustees who are standing behind me, who have dedicated countless hours as volunteers in order to make this decision and many decisions. And in particular, I want to recognize Linda Chavez Thompson and Rick Pitch, and your former chairman, Eddie Herrera, and in most particular, Mary Briceño, who is standing right here, who is the chairman of our presidential search committee and who made sure that the process was thorough and that it ended in the right fashion. There were about 60 applications through this process to begin with, all of whom are people who have celebrated careers in transit and transportation. Of those 60 resumes that were received, 15 were shortlisted for consideration by the Presidential Search Committee. Of the 15 finalists, 6 were interviewed and 2 rose to the top. Out of the 2, 1 was very clearly the right leader at the right time for the city of San Antonio and Bexar County. If I told you that you could find a leader for VIA who had brought light rail to his community, who had a reputation for organizing internally the structure of his transit system that led him not only to be the CEO of his system, but also be appointed an assistant city manager. If I told you that you could find a leader who had one of the best safety records in the history of transit systems for his system, if I told you that you could find a leader who had a sterling reputation for labor and management relations, if I told you that you could find a leader who was a listener first before he put into place an action plan, wouldn't that be the kind of leader that you would want to have for the future of Via Metropolitan Transit? We found that leader. His name is Keith Parker. He is the CEO of Via Metropolitan Transit as of this morning, and it is my great pleasure to introduce you to him.
Well, let me thank Chairman Munoz for those very, very kind and gracious comments. I'm humbled by them. Often when I'm introduced, I sit back and wonder, well, who are they talking about? because my approach has always been one of team first and worry about the accolades and the pats on the back later. I'm a person who absolutely loves public transportation. And every community I've had an opportunity to work in, I feel as though it's been a real gift to me to try to improve the public transportation in those communities. I really want to thank the entire selection committee. I want to thank all the people who've had any role in helping me get to this point today. I certainly want to thank my predecessor for putting together such an outstanding organization of dedicated and hardworking professionals. And I tell you, I come here with a broken heart because I love Charlotte. I love my employees. I love the trees. I love everything about the community. But I do look forward to this opportunity. And I have to tell you just a quick story about why I love public transit so much. I love it because it provides a full day. I can tell you about a day a few years ago where we had cut this wonderful deal. It was one of the first deals I cut in Charlotte, where it was a multi-million-dollar deal that the private sector helped pay for this wonderful program we instituted. And so to have the deal consummated, we were in the top floor, the penthouse floor of the Bank of America building in downtown Charlotte. And we were amongst the highest paid, some of the most powerful people in the entire country were on that board that approved this deal. So I was up there with that wine and cheese, champagne type crowd. And so they cut the deal, and it was great. And that was earlier in the day. Later that same day, I had a meeting with a group of brain injury survivors. And we had it in a dilapidated gym. And some people brought cookies, a couple of them brought a bag of chips. And these folks were not there to cut a multi-million-dollar deal. They were there to make sure that we didn't raise their bus fare or we didn't cut back their service, because if we did, it was lifeline service that they would be losing. Public transit gives a guy like me those types of full days, and that's why I love it so much. I want to bring the same enthusiasm I've had throughout the places I've worked around the country here to VIA. And I know from the very beginning that our success will depend more on you than me. And I will rest on you, and I will call on you, and I will continually ask for your support. And I'll even ask for your prayers, because it's a big journey for me and my family, and it's certainly one we don't want to take alone. Thank you very much.